Hi guys, it's Alex the Magician here, and now we're finally getting into the more juicy stuff on the actual Heroes 3 strategy. In this video, I will be covering Jebus Cross, and more specifically, the first two turns. So, scouting the map and determining whether or not you want to take a restart or continue to actually play this map. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe the overall strategy and mindset that you need to have to play this map well and to be successful. And then I'm actually going to demonstrate myself playing the map, playing the first two turns, and determining whether or not I want to take a restart or continue. So if you don't know what standard restarts are and things like that, please check out my video on the basics you need to know before starting an online game. I describe all of those things there. And also, if you don't know what the Jebus Cross template is, if you don't know what it looks like and what the main types of objectives there are there, then please check out my video on the introduction to Jebus Cross. I describe all of those basic things there as well. Now, assuming you do know the map, this video is going to help those who want to improve how they play this game and this map specifically. Although this strategy is also going to apply to a lot of other maps as well. And in general, if you have played this map, but you are just losing, you can't seem to win a game, and you want to try to learn how to play it more strategically, or maybe you already know that you need to play it more strategically, but you don't necessarily know how to do that, I think in this video you will find some tips that are going to help you start to improve and start to get better so that you can actually win some games. So the first thing you need to know, and you probably already know this if you've played the campaign, if you've played this game a decent amount, is that everything is going to revolve around your main hero, right? And what that means is that you're going to take the difficult fights with your main hero, you're going to level your main hero and try to get him good skills, and you also want to conserve the movement of your main hero as much as possible. You want to use his movement on what's really necessary. You want to be really intelligent about how you do that, because if you use your main hero to go to every corner of the map to take everything, that's just going to take you way too long, and your opponent is going to play much faster, and you're just never going to win that way. Now, as I mentioned in the Jebus Cross introduction video, the main goal of playing Jebus Cross that you need to have in mind, at least for the first week, is you want to kill the main break, right? You want to kill the creatures that are guarding the desert, right? And everything that you do during the first week is gonna need to go towards that goal. So that's the goal that you always need to have in mind. Because like I said in the introduction video, the center is just going to have a lot of juicy stuff like really good artifacts, a lot of army objects and things like that that you'll be able to take that are really going to help you win the final fight if you're able to take those things before your opponent takes those things. So, how do you do that? How do you kill the main break? Because it's going to be either a level 6 or a level 7 creature, and it's going to be really tough. There's no way that you can kill it with your starting army. And also, when you're playing against other people online, you don't want to depend on building creature dwellings in your town, because that's just going to take way too long. And if you rely on getting creatures that way, your opponent is going to be much faster. So what's going to happen is you're going to need to farm objects that give you army. So these are things like hives, pickets, experimental shops, and conces, right? So these are the main objects that you look for. Now, the strategy is going to differ depending on if you're playing a warrior hero or a mage. So the main three things that you're looking for to help you determine whether you want to restart or not are army objects, Pandora boxes, like these boxes here, and also creature dwellings, especially top tier creature dwellings of your town, and artifacts. Now, the importance of those is going to differ depending on if you play a warrior or a mage, right? So for a warrior, army is going to be the most important. For a mage, especially a mage like Luna, experience and artifacts that help you get magic power and knowledge are going to be more important than army, actually, because she can actually do fights without army at all if you have a good amount of mana and spell power. But when you have a warrior hero like Shakti, the early fights are all going to depend on army. I actually recommend that you guys start with a warrior hero because they're a little bit more straightforward. They're a little bit easier to pick up and get a hang of. Mage heroes are a little bit more challenging. So I think when you're starting especially, you want to try with a warrior hero. It will help you improve faster. And then once you get the hang of it, you will understand a little bit more how to play mages as well, because you're going to still be using magic even with warrior heroes. It's just not going to be as important in the early game. In the late game, it's still going to be very important when you're fighting your opponent or when you're fighting some of the tougher creatures in the center and the break as well. But in the early game, you're going to depend mostly on army. Whereas when you have Luna, you depend on her magic. You depend on her firewall. And that's what's going to win you most of the early fights. So again, the factors that are going to influence, assuming that we picked a warrior hero, the factors that are going to influence whether or not we take a restart are creature dwellings, especially the top tier creature dwellings. If we have those are really good, especially for dungeon, because we can actually portal that top tier creature. I will do a more detailed guide on dungeon in the next video, so I'm just going to mention that right now. And then the other things are the Pandora boxes or other ways to get experience, as well as artifacts, and also the objects that give you creatures, like the hives, pickets, experimental shops, and conces, right? The objects that give you army are going to be the most important for warrior heroes. Other factors that are going to influence are the roads that you have, the shape of your biome, as well as what you have on the main break, what creatures you have to fight. However, you're not going to be able to scout the main break very often until maybe turn 2, so you may not even see the main break until turn 2, sometimes turn 3. But if you do see it on turn 1 and the break is really bad, it's something like Cyclopes or Enchanters or maybe Efreet Sultans or something like that, then you can consider that as a factor to potentially take a restart. It's not reason enough by itself, but if everything else looks kind of okay and then you have a really bad main break, then you may want to actually take a restart. And as far as the roads go, so like in this map, the roads are actually not that good because they only go, well, they don't look that good right now because it looks like the biome is probably going to be long, which means that everything is going to be far away. And also the other thing is that you want to see the shape of your biome and how much of it is off-road, because sometimes you can get biomes that have a very large portion off-road, which means that it's going to take you a long time to get there with your main hero to do any fights, which means that a lot of objects, like let's say if in this corner I have everything, I have a lot of good objects, but they're very far off-road, I'm not going to be able to get to them, so they're pretty much useless for me. So you kind of want to consider all of these factors when you're determining whether or not you want to restart, and kind of, look at the whole package, look at the whole picture. Obviously, like I said, with the army being the most important, but the other things also influencing whether or not you want to take a restart. And taking restarts intelligently is a very, very important factor that's going to influence whether or not you actually win the game. Because you only have 2 restarts on 1-1-1 or 1 restart on 1-1-2, and so does your opponent. Now, I've mentioned this before, but if you're red says whether or not they want to restart first. So if you happen to be blue and you want to restart, wait until your opponent says plus or restart. And then if you want to restart and they say plus, then you can restart. But maybe they will restart and you don't have to use your restart. So it's always good when you wanted to restart, but you don't have to use your restarts because your opponent restarted first. So you really, really want to use that intelligently, and depending on if you have 2 restarts, then maybe you want to look at the map, even if turn 1 looks okay, not great, maybe you still want to continue, and then you can still take a restart on 1-1-2. If you don't have a restart on 1-1-2 anymore, if you already used the 1-1-1, then maybe it's better to restart kind of a marginal map. Or another kind of way to think about it is that you may not want to restart because the next one could just be complete shit. So if you only have 1 restart left and the map looks okay, like not great but not terrible, maybe you don't want to restart because, you know, sometimes you just get a really bad map. So maybe an okay map is better than something that's really bad. So again, turn 1, we're going to be scouting. And mainly we're going to be scouting with our side heroes, of course. Like I said, we need to preserve the movement of our main hero as much as possible. And basically, we need to find stuff for our main hero to do on turn 1, turn 2. So we need to scout where we actually want to send our main hero, right? And as we're scouting, what you want to do is you also want to pick up gold. Generally, you want to pick up the gold that's along the road. You don't want to go too far off-road to do that, but that actually is going to depend on how much gold you're starting with. So standard is starting with 10,000 gold, but normally people trade for towns, and if you traded, for example, 7k for Necro, and you're only starting with 3k gold, then it's more important for you to actually gather gold, because that's what's going to allow you to actually buy more heroes so that you can scout more. So in that case, you may want to go off-road a little bit more to pick up the gold. It all depends on how much gold you have and what you can afford. The main thing is to buy as many heroes as you can on turn 1 so that you can scout as much as possible. And also, if you see things like taverns along the road, you and your hero can actually make it to the tavern. You want to buy a hero in that tavern so that you can actually scout farther on that first turn. Also, if you see redwood observatories, you want to try to take those on turn 1 or 2 or 3 if you can, because that just gives you a lot of vision for free, and sometimes that alone can tell you enough on whether you want to take a restart or continue the map. And the other thing are stables also. If they're close to the road or even a little bit off-road, they're usually worth to take early if you can actually take them, if you can find one on turn 1 or 2, because that gives you an extra 400 movement every day for the rest of the week. So that's even worth it with your main hero as well. And the last thing that you also need to know about scouting and about having heroes is that when you buy them, you want to give them the fastest unit that you have available, because your speed, the movement points that you are going to have at the beginning of next turn, is determined by the slowest unit that you have in your army. So if you have a unit with speed 4 or 3, you're only going to have about 1,500 move points. But if you have a unit with speed 11 or 12, you're going to have 2,000 move points, which is a pretty big difference. And that's really important, especially for your main hero. So, and that's why it's all the more important to take things like Dragon Caves and Portals of Glory or Conses pretty early, so that you have that really fast unit, well, also to do the fights, but also to give your main hero especially some additional move points. Now, as we're looking for the army objects, the things that we also need to consider are what types of army objects do we see? So for example, if we see 4 hives, right? That is going to be really good. But if we see 4 objects of different types, like 1 cons, 1 hive, 1 picket, and 1 experimental shop, that's not as good. because then your army is just going to be spread out and you're not going to have one main stack of creatures that's actually going to be your main fighting stack. And plus that's also going to give you negative morale. So you want to be thinking what your main fighting stack is going to be as you're looking at the map, as you're looking at these objects. So you're looking for objects of the same type. Like, even if you find 2 hives and 2 conses, that's still a lot better than finding just 4 objects of all different types. So just keep that in mind. And the other thing that you want to know is what is guarding those objects, right? So if it's a range guard like Cyclopes or Grand Elves or something like that, that is going to be really difficult for you to kill. And you don't really want to lose a lot of army killing the guard, because you also have to fight creatures in the actual object. So especially early on, your main stack is going to be really important. The starting stack of, either your troglodytes or skeletons or whatever you start with, that's going to be really important. So you want to preserve that as much as possible until you can start to get some other army like the Wyvern or Cyclopes or Giants or Angels or something like that, who are going to be stronger. But until you do that, this stack needs to be preserved as much as possible, so you don't want to lose them on fights that don't actually give you any additional army. And the last thing that you need to know when you're looking for objects is how close they are to the road, because you also don't want to spend too much time going off-road to pick up an object. Like I mentioned, if the objects are like all the way in the corner here, they're pretty much going to be useless. You're never going to take them. So the closer they are to the road, the better that is, because that means your main hero is not going to need to waste as much movement to do that. Now, and the last thing that I'm going to mention before actually starting and showing you guys how to play these 2 turns are the skills that you need to have. I'm going to have another video come out a little bit later where I do an overview of all the skills, so I'm not going to get too far into it right now. All I want to mention is that you do want to have good skills for your hero. You have 8 slots here, and some skills are way better than others. The one skill that I will mention that you really, really want is Earth Magic. Earth Magic is really good, and that's really going to help you do the main break, because you usually want to have Expert Earth Magic, and you want to have Slow to be able to slow down the main break. Especially if you're fighting things like Nagas or Champions or, like Manticores or something like that, where their speed is not amazing. If you're fighting things like Ghost Dragons or Archangels or something like that, then slow is not really going to matter, because they're going to be faster than your units anyway, and they're going to move first. But in general, you want to have Expert Earth Magic and you want to have Slow for doing the main break, and it's also going to help you to do the fights when you're actually in the center. Now, and what you also need to think about is that you want to do the break with as little losses as you possibly can. You want to preserve as much army as possible, because in the center, you're also going to have some tough fights. You're going to have other tough creatures guarding really good objects that you are going to want to take, like artifacts like Earth Tome and things like that. Those fights are going to be difficult, so you want to still have as much army as possible when you actually get through the break, when you actually get into the center. It's not going to make any sense to break and lose all your army doing it, because then you're not going to be able to do anything in the center. It's going to be useless. So just remember that and try to plan for that. Try to lose as little as possible. Sometimes you do lose something, but as long as you still have a good stack, maybe of Cyclopes or Wyvern or Angels or something like that, you're still going to be okay. Like losing, if you have 8 Angels and you lose 1 or 2 on the break, that's still okay. It's not ideal, but it's doable. It's livable. Okay, guys, so I think I've mentioned just about everything that I wanted to mention, so now I'm actually going to show you guys how I'm playing this, right? So right away, We're looking at our stack of troglodytes. We see that we don't have too many. We can actually get up to 90 troglodytes starting with Shakti, but I'll cover that in the dungeon video. We do have a decent artifact that increases our knowledge and spell power, but it's not going to matter right now. But for Shakti, that's a pretty good artifact because he's a warrior, and as he levels, he's not going to get a whole lot of knowledge and spell power. So, as I said, what we want to do is we want to buy as many heroes as we possibly can so that we can scout. And we want to just give them one unit. For this guy, so I would normally give them harpies. But for this guy, I'm going to keep the whites because with them, with their regeneration, he can actually take some of the side villages with just that. Now, the one thing that I do see is this Pandora's box, so I may think about taking that with Shakti on turn 1. It's actually not guarded by a lot of Wolf Raiders, but because it's not guarded by a lot of them, this actually might be 5k gold instead of 5k experience. So it's not going to be super important. If this was a mage hero that I was maining, then like Luna, for example, and I thought that this box has experience, then I would definitely try to take that on turn 1. But right now I'm looking for other stuff. I'm looking for army objects. So maybe there's going to be something more useful for Shakti to do. So actually, the roads are not too bad, as I said before. So this actually looks okay. So I'm going to send this hero this way. Like I said, I'm going to pick up as much gold just along the road as possible. Okay, here we're slightly blocked by harpies, so we have to go around them and waste some movement, which is a little unfortunate. Alright, we do see another Pandora's box, and we see a labyrinth. A labyrinth is okay, but a dragon cave is better. So we have to scout in other directions. Now, another thing that's really good, especially if you start with a warrior hero, is if you get 2 starting heroes in the tavern that are your hometown heroes, because then that's just going to help your main stack be that much bigger, which is going to make the early fights better. Now, the other thing as you're scouting that you want to know is these treasure chests. Sometimes you want to give your main hero experience from these treasure chests. It depends. If you're maining a mage, you do want to do that. Like with Luna, I will always leave these chests for Luna to pick up. But if you're maining a warrior, it's not necessarily as useful. It's not as crucial. It will still help because, for example, Shakti has offense, and if he can level his offense, that's going to help his troops do the early fights that much easier. But sometimes you may need the gold, so if you really need gold for additional heroes, then you may want to, actually take those chests for gold. So it all depends on the situation. But if you can, it would be good to actually level your main hero with these chests. Now, we do see a Wolf Raider picket here, and the guard is pretty doable on turn 1. However, I actually don't like taking the Wolf Raider pickets early, because first of all, they're kind of difficult to take. The Wolf Raiders are fast, they hit really hard, so you're going to lose quite a bit of army. And you get Cyclopes for actually beating them, so when you actually get Cyclopes, they're not really going to help you take too many other objects very quickly. Like Dragonfly Hives, the Cyclopes are not going to be as useful because the Dragonflies are really fast, and they're going to attack your Cyclopes, so you're just going to lose them. The pickets, also the Wolf Raiders are really fast, and they're going to attack your Cyclopes, so Cyclopes are not going to help. So generally, I want to look for objects like conches and hives that I can take early, and also the top tier creature dwelling, especially for dungeon with the dragon cave, as I can portal another dragon. And then once I get a little bit of army like that, once I get a couple of dragons or a couple of angels or some wyvern, like 10 of them, then I can start doing the Wolf Raider pickets. So this is still useful, especially if I get a lot of pickets. A stack of Cyclopes is really useful since they're ranged attackers. But I would actually suggest not trying to take these objects too early. So I'm actually, in the worst case scenario, if I didn't have any restarts left, I would maybe go for these Nagas and the Wolf Raider picket on turn 1. But right now I'm actually trying to find something else. I didn't pick up that pile of gold, but actually I have a decent amount of gold, so it's not quite as important. Okay, we do see a hive here, so that's not bad, and we're actually also able to scout the main break. And we see sea serpents. It's actually not a bad break. They are kind of fast, but if we slow them, we're going to be okay. So then with a stack of Cyclops, it's going to be okay. It's certainly not a really bad break like Enchanters or Magic Elementals or something like that. Now, but right now, we only see a couple of things that are good for us to actually continue. We see one Picket, we see one Hive, and we see one Pandora's Box, we see a second Pandora's Box, and we also see a Labyrinth, and we see a Manticore Lair over here. Now, I would say this is pretty marginal. It's not really enough. Like, it's close to 50-50 on whether or not I want to restart this. So I would look at the situation. If I don't have any more restarts, or if I only have one more restart, I might decide to play this. If I have 2 restarts, then I might decide to restart, or I might decide to take a look at turn 2 and then plan to, if I don't scout anything else that's really good, I would restart this. So I think in this case I'm leaning more towards a restart. Although what I could do is I could do this fight on turn 1 with Shakti, and if that fight goes well, and I take this Hive, then that will lean me more towards actually continuing this. So let's try that. I'm going to skip the Pandora's Box, especially since I'm thinking that this is actually going to be gold. So I'm going to send Shakti here to do this fight with the Gargoyles, and to try to take this Dragonfly Hive. A lot of times you can take that chance, especially if you still have 2 restarts left. You can take that chance even if you don't necessarily think that you can do that fight. If the fight does not go well, you can always take a restart. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm going to take this fight, and if the fight does not go well, if the Hive fight does not go well, then I take a restart. If it does go well, I will think about not restarting. So, we needed to upgrade the Troglodytes. That's usually standard with Dungeon on turn 1. It just gives my Troglodytes more speed, more attack, more defense, and that's even better for Shakti because he has a specialty of Troglodytes. So let's go. Alright, so auto combat, there are 73 of them, which is kind of a lot. But we're going to try to do better than auto combat. Now, on the one hand, it's not very good that we have skeletons, because in that case, I have minus morale. But on the other hand, they're gonna aggro on the skeletons and not the Troglodytes. So, as long as my main stack of Troglodytes doesn't get minus morale, this should not be too bad. Alright, so I think I am going to take retaliation from these guys. You obviously want to try to do the fights as well as possible. Oh wow, couldn't even kill a stack. So this fight may not go as well as I would like it to. Oh wow, they actually aggroed on the zombies. That's pretty good. Okay, that one did kill them. Okay, aggro on the skeletons, good. That's fine. Now I want to try, oh, there's minus morale. If I didn't get that minus morale, I could have actually covered my Troglodytes and not gotten hit. But I only lost 3, much better than auto combat, so I would actually consider that that fight went pretty well. Now, here's a level, and again, as I mentioned before, we need to be really intelligent about what skills we pick for the hero. I will do a video on that just a little bit in the future. But right now, we're not really going to take archery. Archery could be good if we have a lot of Wolf Raider pickets. If we get a lot of Cyclops, it will be good. But right now, it's not our top priority, and we don't know whether we're going to find any more Wolf Raider pickets. So I'm going to just take Advanced Offense, because that's actually going to increase my offense to 20%, which is going to help. It's going to help in the next fight. So now we're going for the Hive. Ooh. I was actually not able to scout to get to the Hive. And that is unfortunate. I did not realize that. I should have picked up the gold with another hero, and then Shakti would have been able to make it there. But okay. Just for the sake of... in this case, I think I probably... The two options would be to either take a restart or to take a look at turn 2 and hope to find some better stuff. If I have 2 restarts, I'd probably lean more towards taking a restart. But you can also try to trick your opponent. You can say plus and hope that maybe your opponent takes a restart. So just for the sake of argument, let's say I would have said plus here and I would have taken a look at turn 2 just to show you guys whether or not this is going to be playable on turn 2 or not. So let's see. Actually, I probably should have picked up this treasure chest with Shakti, but actually I didn't want to waste movement with him. So let's see how much more we can scout on next turn. I don't really think I need any more heroes. I can't really scout anymore. Like, it looks like we're blocked over here. I could probably scout this way just a little bit more. So just for the sake of that, let's do that. Alright, no, we can't scout this way. We see another Pandora's box guarded by unicorns. Okay. Alright. So assume we set plus and we're looking at the next turn. Now we're looking at the Hive. Okay, the Hive is a small one, so we can go ahead and fight it. It's a size 1 or 2. We're going to be able to take both of them, hoping for a size 2. It's only a size 1, unfortunately. So we end up losing 20 troglodytes, which is kind of a lot for only 4 wyvern. But it's okay. This is not ideal. I would have liked for this Hive to be a size 2 rather than a size 1. And if I took that on turn 1, I may have actually taken a restart. Now, we see a Dragon Utopia, which is actually not good, because we're not going to be able to take that anytime soon, maybe never, and it's eating up a lot of the value in our biome. So that's actually an argument to not continue to play this map. We see an artifact here, but a difficult guard of Cyclops. Well, not too bad. There are not too many of them. So with tactics, this is doable. Alright, but we don't see anything else here. We were really hoping to find more stuff, but we see nothing. So now this is actually going to be a restart, I think. There's stables here, so I will take those. Oh, there is a dragon cave. Okay, that is a pretty decent argument, but the guard is really difficult. These sea witches, so this is what I was talking about. And there's actually a double guard here because, well, maybe I can get to it down here, but right now it looks like I have to kill the Magogs for this box, and then I kill the sea witches, and both of these are pretty difficult. So I think that this is not going to be doable anytime soon, and even if it's doable, I have to send Shakti all the way over here and wait for like 2 days before I can take all of that. So it's not really going to help us get a lot of tempo. So from what I see now I think that I'm going to restart this. Yeah, and we don't find anything. We do find one more picket, but I don't really think this is enough. I don't really think we have much tempo. Mainly because if the guards here were not that bad, like if we had, I don't know, even Nagas here or something that wasn't a ranged guard, especially not sea witches who have those spells that they cast, maybe we would have continued. I would have gone for the Dragon Cave, and after that, gone for the pickets, probably. But in this case, because it's difficult and I have no idea when I'll be able to take this, I think in this case I'm actually going to restart. And especially since we lost some troglodytes here and we did not get a lot of ducks for it, all of this, it's still pretty marginal. This biome is still not too bad. Eventually I will be able to take this, but the question is how quickly? How quickly are you going to be able to take it? Good players are going to be able to do the main break on week 1, like 117 or something like that, maybe 121. You know, when you're first starting, you're probably not going to be able to do it until like 125, maybe even 131 or even later, which is okay, but you want to aim to do this as quickly as possible, maybe by the start of week 2. Like if you can do the main break on 121, that is going to be pretty good. And to do that, you need to have tempo. So you need to take these objects, like Dragon Caves are really good for tempo, but this Dragon Cave, for one, needed to be a lot closer, and it also needed to have a better guard. And since there's a double guard here, there's just no way that I can kill these guys and then these guys without losing pretty much all of my troglodytes, and then I'm just not going to be able to do the Dragon Cave. So, unfortunately, this is going to be a 1-1-2. So since I created the game against the computer, it would just restart the same exact map if I click restart. So I just have to create a new game in this case. All right, let's see what we have here. So here the stack of troglodytes is better than last time. We have an artifact that raises our attack and defense, which is actually more helpful in the early game. We also have these dogs with speed 7 that we can use to speed up our heroes. And let's scout. Again, picking up gold along the road. We are going to pick up resources that are on the road as well, because, you know, we don't want to go around them. Even though we don't necessarily need those resources, we don't really want to go around them. Now, I don't think I'm sending the main hero here, so I will pick this up for gold, just so I can buy as many heroes as I can. We don't really see anything this way. Now, one of the other things that you want to consider is also what heroes you get. So Deemer, for example, has Meteor Shower, so he can actually help. And if you get like Luna or Alamar or Jadit or someone like that, that is pretty helpful. There's an artifact that's free that's going to help us get better scouting radius, but we're not going to take that right now. Okay, we don't see anything that way either. So right now, this just looks like a restart. Gunner is actually a decent option for a main because he is a logistics specialist. So he's going to have more movement. Logistics is one of those skills that's pretty good. These boots of speed are good, but the guard is bad. We do see a skull helmet that's helpful, and the guard is not bad here. But we see absolutely nothing in terms of army objects. So this is just going to be a restart. There's just nothing that I saw so far. I can try to scout a little more this way or this way, but there's just nothing. There's no reason for me to even justify looking at turn 2 and seeing if, like on last map, there was justification for us to actually have a look at turn 2, and if it went okay, if we saw good things on turn 2, then we could have continued. In this map, we just see nothing. We see nothing except for some artifacts and things like that, but the artifact... So in this map, we just see nothing except for some artifacts and things like that, and that's actually not reason enough for us to continue. We really need to scout some army objects. So since we see none of those at all, we don't even see any creature dwellings, this is just going to be a restart. No reason to even look at turn 2. So I would say 1-1-1. And I have to create the game again. If you're playing against the other player, you just click restart. But in this case, if I click restart, since I'm doing this demonstration against a computer, it's just going to restart the exact same map. But yeah, but when you're playing against other players, you just go here to restart scenario. Okay, so right away we see a dragon cave, and this guard is actually not too bad. It's not great, because these things are pretty tanky, but I think we are going to be able to do that on turn 1. So that is likely what Shakti is going to be doing on turn 1. And if we take the dragon cave on turn 1, on turn 2 we can portal another dragon. And that's almost going to be reason enough to continue this map. We also see a cons over here. So that's also really good for us to continue. We do see Christian with a ballista. By the way, when you get ballistas and healing tents and things like that, you want to give them to your main hero too, usually. Alright, so we are going to scout a little bit more. We also see a crown here for +4 knowledge. We see a refugee camp, which could be helpful, but it's kind of a lottery. Okay, this way we don't see a whole lot. Now, the one problem that I do see with this biome is, like I was saying, the off-road area. So you see these roads are just going to go down and then to the side. So the roads are not that great here. And all of this area in the corner here is going to be off-road. So if we find good objects here, there's almost no way we're going to be able to take them. So that's also something you want to consider when you're deciding whether or not you want to restart. Okay, so we have a block here. I do want to clear this block, but I think first I'm already going to go ahead and do the fight with the Gorgons, and then with the dragons. Okay, let's do it like this. It's a little unfortunate that there's a skull helmet here because we already have this crown here. We don't really need the skull helmet, and that actually raises the value of this. So there's going to be more of these Gorgon here than there would have been just guarding the dragon cave. But we're still going to go for this fight. And again, this is kind of a case of taking this fight, and if the fight does not go well, if we're not able to do this fight well and then take the dragon cave without losing too much, then we're probably going to take a restart. But in this case, I'm expecting that I will be able to do that. Okay, so even auto combat loses 29 troglodytes, which is not that bad. We still have enough troglodytes left over to be able to take the dragon, which is what's really important here. So doing the fights is pretty important as well. You want to try to do these fights as well as possible. I will do a guide later on how to actually do these fights without losing too much. But at the moment, I'm just going to tell you that you want to try to separate the stacks as much as possible. That's why I brought the 2 harpies down here, so that at least one of them would go down. And also you want to kill the stronger stacks first. So like these Gorgons, because the mighty Gorgons, because they have that special death stare, you want to try to kill them right away. Okay, and then also you want to try to block, if ever possible, you want to try to block your main stack so that the rest of these Gorgons don't hit them. So I'm going to move these harpies over here. And this one is just going to be sacrificed so that these guys stay here for one more turn. So I'm just going to wait with everybody. That's fine. Let's take retaliation from these guys just in case. Yep. Needed to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to hit this stack, hopefully finish them. Okay. And now, These might hit the troglodytes, but there's only one of them, so I shouldn't lose many of them. Yep, that's fine. And the next turn, I'm just hitting these guys with the troglodytes. Well, actually... Okay. That's really good. So you see, I only lost 2 troglodytes, which is our main stack. Much better than auto combat, so that fight went really well. And now I have enough warriors left over to actually kill the dragons. So I'm gonna give my Shakti one more Harpy 1 stack. So auto combat is not going to be able to do it, but when you do these fights, especially with tactics, you should be able to do it. What you want to do is you want to take retaliation, and then you want to hit them with the troglodytes without retaliation. And then hope that they attack these guys, so that bunch them up so that these dragons try to decide to burn 2 of these and leave your troglodytes alone. They may still attack the troglodytes, but in this fight we are okay losing 20 or 30 troglodytes because we're going to get the dragon, which is going to be really important. So you see, they actually attack the harpies. That's really good. Again, we're going to take the retaliation with the harpies. Okay. Now, he's probably going to attack the troglodytes. Yeah. So he ended up killing 12. So, but that's a really good fight, I would say. We get leadership. It's a pretty good skill, but we're not going to take it. Okay, and after this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this block, but I'm going to clear it with this hero. I'm basically just going to take the dragons. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed Shakti up with the dragon. And I will continue moving this way. I'm going to get gold here so I can buy one more hero. Now, so what else do we see? We see Khans guarded by Corsairs here, which is not the best guard, but with tactics and with the dragons and with the second dragon that we can get on turn 2, I think we're going to be able to do that. So maybe I'll send Shakti this way to do this fight on turn 2 and check that Khan. So if it's a small Khan, so I can take that on turn 2. But maybe I'll find something else. So we get Gunner again. So I'm going to send him this way to scout. Again, try to pick up gold to potentially pick up more, get more heroes. We are blocked here, but we do have a prison here that we can open. We see a good shield here. So those are all good things. But we don't see any more army objects right now. But since we were able to take the Dragon Cave on turn 1 and we can portal a dragon on turn 2, I think that in this case, this is just good enough to say plus. Especially if I have 2 restarts left, I would definitely take a look at turn 2, and then if turn 2 does not go well, then maybe I consider restarting on turn 2. Now, the question is, what do I do with Shakti right now? Do I send him here? I think that's probably our most reasonable play, is to send Shakti this way to do this fight next turn. There's 2049 of them, so even with 2 dragons, we may still lose some stuff. But I don't really see much else that I could do with Shakti. I could actually send him for this refugee camp as well. Oops, that was actually a misclick. I should not have done that. I meant to place him here. But that's okay. We would still play this even with that mistake, even with that misclick. So we can't really do anything else on this turn, so let's move on to turn 2. We're collecting as much gold as we can, because right now we're going to need to buy a dragon and a portal We do see a picket here with a good artifact here. We see another dragon cave, which is really good. We see a village that's actually empty. So I could poor man Shakti over here and take this dragon cave and then go for the picket. That may actually be my plan. And let's scout more this way then. We see another refugee camp, not that important. Okay, we don't really see any other objects here, so we're not going to go this way. But the fact that we saw another dragon cave, it actually means that we're going to have 3 dragons, and that is pretty good. So maybe I'm not going to do that fight right now. Maybe what I would do is I would go this way, try to check the refugee camp, and then after that, go here and get an additional dragon, and then go for the Wolf Raider picket, and maybe after that, go for the Corsairs here. So I think that overall, this is going to be a plus. Because we have another dragon here, so in the worst case scenario, on 1-2-1, we are going to have 6 dragons, which is already a pretty good stack. And sometimes that alone can almost be enough to do the break, depending on what the break is. So I think in this case, we are going to continue. So I would just say plus. And the next plan would just be to kill these Gorgons, to get a dragon, kill these Gorgons, check the refugee camp. I should have sent Shakti for the refugee camp instead of the cons. I'll do this fight later, because if the cons is bigger than a 1, I'm not going to be able to take that anyway. So we are buying the portal, we're buying the dragon. And we're going for this fight. Now, if we get something good in the refugee camp, that's also a plus. Because there's 19 of them. But with the dragons, we should be able to do this fight without losing too much. So let's try that. We're just going to wait with everybody. Okay, and these guys position themselves for a burn, so I'm going to burn them with the dragon. Right now, Troglodytes are just going to skip their turn, and so will the Harpies. One of these Harpies will take retaliation, so that my dragons don't get hurt. And we're going to burn these 2 stacks like that. Ooh, morale. Amazing. So that's really good. And now I think I'm going to go for this 5 stack. Wow, only killed 1. Okay. Alright, so now I think I am gonna bring the dragons, or I mean the troglodytes this way. Or maybe this way to try to kill that stack. Maybe I'll wait with the dragons. Wait with the troglodytes. Wait with the harpies. Okay, this is fine. Actually, I should have taken retaliation with the harpies here. That's alright. Now the dragons can burn like this. Oh, actually they can't. But that's okay. So we only lost 2 troglodytes and 2 harpies. That's pretty good. Now I'm gonna use another hero to actually check the refugee camp. So maybe Das, if he's able to. He's not quite going to be able to. But I am going to send Shakti, I think, this way. I don't think there's that much of a reason to poor man him. So I'm just going to send him this way. Actually, first, don't forget to speed him up. And move him this way. So I'll take the second dragon cave, and I will have 3 dragons. With that, I'll be able to take a picket, even if it's big, and then I'll be able to go for the cons. So there is stuff for us to do. And this map looks pretty good. So we're definitely going to continue. At this point, I just wanted to check what I have in the refugee camp, since we have this artifact. That's also good. Alright, Horned Demons, not really useful. but we can get them as additional meat. Maybe I can scout more this way. So overall, this is not super amazing, but because we have the dragon caves and we're able to portal another dragon, next turn we have 3 dragons, which is going to be enough to let us do a lot of stuff. We were not able to scout our main break yet, but I think just about any break we're going to be able to do eventually, because we're going to be able to have dragons, and in the worst case scenario, we find nothing else. Well, on week 3, we're going to have 9 dragons, and that's going to be enough to help us do just about any break. So in this case, I would just say plus, and we continue to play. And I'm gonna do one more demonstration just to show you guys one more time what we're looking for and how we decide whether or not we want to restart. Okay, so right away we see an experimental shop, but it is guarded by probably a lot of fire elementals because there's this Pendant of Courage here, which is also a really good artifact. It gives you +3 morale and luck. But experimental shops are a little bit tough to take, to be honest, because now they have steel golems guarding them, and those are pretty tough. So again, we're scouting as much as possible. We do see a picket, we do see a hive. Let's check what's guarding them. Steel golems. How many? 2049. We can probably try to go for that on turn 1. And if that fight goes well, we may want to continue. Again, we do have a pretty large area off-road. So if everything else looks kind of okay or marginal, that's going to be a factor that may influence us to actually restart this. Okay, we do see another hive. And that guard is not that difficult. We also see an experimental shop, but this guard is difficult, especially since they're guarding 2 artifacts. There are going to be a lot of them there. But since we were able to see 2 hives and 2 experimental shops and 1 picket, this is already looking pretty good. So I think on turn 1 here, I will probably send Shakti either this way to fight the steel golems or this way to fight the dendroid soldiers. Probably the dendroid soldiers. I think there are probably fewer of them there because these guys are also guarding 2 piles of resources plus a dwarven treasury. So that fight is probably going to be tougher than this one. Alright, let's see where else I can scout. I can send somebody up there. And again, notice that I'm leaving the fastest stack possible on all of my side heroes. That way they'll have more movement and they'll be able to scout more next turn. Right, we don't see much else here. So in this case, right now, what I'm seeing is okay. It's not completely amazing that I just want to say that I play this 100% of the time. But it looks pretty good. And especially if I have 2 restarts, I may decide to look at turn 2 so that if something doesn't go well, I can restart on turn 2. And also, at the very least, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take this fight. And if that goes well, and if I can take this hive pretty well without losing too much, then that's going to be reason enough to continue. So I think right now my plan is going to be to go for this hive. After that, potentially go for this hive, and then probably go for this picket. That is kind of the plan that I have in my head right now. And maybe I'll get just... No, I should not get any more heroes because I need to upgrade the troglodytes. Right, and now we do not have enough gold for another hero, so I think I'm gonna bring all of my units with me. Okay, and we're going to have enough movement to actually get into the hive as well. Alright, auto combat loses 32 troglodytes. Let's do better than that. We really don't care about the rest of the stuff other than our troglodyte stack. But this stack is, these other stacks are also somewhat important because they're going to help us lose less in the hive, especially if the hive is a bigger size. Ooh, the guy waited. We got morale, interesting. Now I wonder if I should attack him with this stack. I think I might. I would like to take retaliation with somebody else, but I really want to conserve my stack of troglodytes, so I think I'll have to take retaliation with these guys. Because the troglodytes won't finish them, and I don't want them to get stuck in place. Alright, these stacks are going to be here. So I think troglodytes are going to go ahead and hit this stack. Too bad I could not kill them. Okay. Now the troglodytes, I'll probably try to retreat so that I can conserve as many troglodytes as possible, because these guys are slow, so I can kite them a little bit and try to send one stack down here, maybe sacrifice a harpy even, and have one stack go up here, and hope for no morale, of course. So I'll do it like this, I think. And, yep. This is what I'm gonna do. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. Now I'll take retaliation with this stack, and... What just happened? Oh, that was a new round. Okay, I messed that up just a little bit, but that's okay. I didn't lose too much. Losing a little bit more than I wanted to. And I think I do have to attack. Okay, I lost 11 troglodytes. Not great, but it's better than auto combat. Pathfinding is a decent skill for the center, but right now there are other priorities, so it's better to take offense. So that fight did not go as well as I wanted it to. I wanted to lose fewer troglodytes, but still, I only lost 11, so it's not too bad. Now, this is an interesting situation. So this hive is a size 3 or a size 4. We cannot take a size 4. We just die to a size 4. We can take a size 3, I think. If we had a little bit more army, if we didn't lose the troglodytes and that stack of imps, we would have definitely been able to take a size 3. But in this case, if you don't have any restarts, you want to check this hive with a side hero. So you want to sacrifice a hero to check the size of this hive to see if it's a size 3 or a size 4, because if you go into it and this hive is a size 4 and you go into it with a main hero without checking it, you just die. With this army, you just die and you lose the game basically, because you don't have any army after that and you don't have your main hero. But assuming we still have both of our restarts, or even if we have just one restart, I think what we need to do here is actually check the hive. Or we actually need to risk it. We actually need to attack it with the main hero, because right now we don't have any more movement. We can't buy another hero to check it. And if we don't take this hive, then we waste a lot of tempo. Like our other option would be to go all the way over here to take this one, and this fight may not go very well, and maybe this hive is also big. So honestly, we don't have that much of a choice but to check this hive. So if I did not have any restarts left, then maybe I would check it with a side hero next turn. I would just wait with Shakti, check it with a side hero next turn, and if it's a maxi, try to do something else, because then I would just not have a choice. But if I do have if I do have restarts, what I would do is I will attack it and hope that it's a size 3, and a size 3 I will be able to take, I think, should be able to take with this amount of troglodytes, And if I am able to take a size 3 hive, that is 8 wyvern. And with 8 wyvern, I will be able to do this fight, probably take this hive, then take this picket. So I'll be able to get some tempo here. So basically, our choice is to attack the hive and see if it's a size 3 or a 4. If it's a size 4, we just die and we take a restart. If it's a size 3, we take it and we continue. So that is what I'm going to do. Obviously, assuming we still have 2 restarts, or at least 1 restart. I think that is the decision we need to make here. Again, if this was some different condition, like if I didn't have any restarts, or if this was a later turn where I couldn't restart it anymore, and I thought I couldn't do a size 4 hive, I would want to check it with a side hero before actually going into it. So, let's go. See, so it is a size 3, we were able to take it, we lost a lot of troglodytes, but because of that, we gained 8 wyvern. So I think with that, we have some decent tempo, and we will be able to continue and go for the hive up there. So in this case, I think this is going to be a plus. Let's just try to do the fight, maybe we can do it better than auto combat. We did a little better. So 8 wyvern and 67 troglodytes left, which is okay. So now we're looking for more hives. We're looking for our main stack of, our main stack of fighting units to be wyvern. So we're gonna want to go for this hive probably. So I'm just gonna say plus and end our turn, and we're gonna try to scout more on round 2, just to show you guys what we would have seen, and if we want to continue after seeing turn 2. There's a free artifact. I can pick that up on the way back. Okay, we're still not able to scout our main break. We see a box here, looks like there's maybe Dread Knights there or something. Oh no, there's Nomads. Okay, so far we don't see that much. There's an observatory here that I want to take. We do see another shop. So now we see 3 shops. So it looks like we are going to have a decent stack of giants as well. But still, I think for now, it's a better idea to actually go for this hive rather than the experimental shop down here. And I think after we take that hive, we're probably going to go for the picket here. And after that, I think I'm going to go for the shops here. So overall, this looks like I am going to continue. I'm not going to be able to reach the this hive this turn, so I might actually think about poor manning Shakti here, bringing the army back, and then sending him here. But actually, that's not going to gain that much movement, so I'll probably just move him. So, in this case, this is a game that I will continue, I will play. We have a decent number of objects. We have 2 hives. We were able to take hive size 3 on turn 1. Then we can take this hive, we can take this picket, and then we can focus on the experimental shops. And then once we get the 3 experimental shops, maybe if we find some additional objects, take those. I think with the giants that we're going to get here, here, and here, and maybe some other units that we'll pick up along the way, I think with that, we're going to be trying to break. So this is not amazing. This is not the greatest map in the world, but it's good enough. You know, this could be a lot worse. We do see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 army objects, and sometimes you see none. Like you saw the map that I restarted before, we just saw 0 on turn 1. So we are going to continue this one. Okay, So I think that's going to be it for the demonstrations. Hopefully this actually helped you get an idea of how to play these first couple of turns. And I hope that you found this video informative and it gave you some good tips on how to start to think about this game strategically and how to actually start to improve and get better at this game. Later on, I am going to do a video where I play the entire first week until the break. So I will show you guys more of this. In this video, I just wanted to focus on the first 2 turns, on what you want to know and what you want to see and scout before you determine whether or not you want to restart, because that is one of the elements that you have to learn right away. And then later, because there's just so much stuff that you need to learn in this game, I am gonna record a video where I play the entire first week so you can get an idea of some of the more advanced moves like hero chaining and things like that, and actually take in the break fight and how to level your hero and all that good stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. If you guys want to see more Heroes 3 content, I actually stream live on Twitch just about every weekday starting around noon European time. And I'll leave the link in the description to the video below. So if you guys do want to see my live stream, you can follow me and you'll be notified by email when I actually go live. So if you're interested, do check it out. And I will be releasing more strategy videos soon, so stay tuned for more videos. All right, thank you guys for watching. See you soon. Bye.